Organic chemistry introduction. So alcohols, if hydrocarbon compound which contain carbon and hydrogen, if they have a if hydrogen is replaced by hydroxide group or OH group, we call them as alcohol, or they have a functional group OH. And name, because it's an alcohol, so name should end at OL. So example, if you have CH3, CH2 and OH. So the rule to name these hydrocarbons, for not hydrocarbon here, alcohol, first we select carbon chain, the longest carbon chain. So first we select the longest carbon chain. Second, numbering should start from nearest and the numbering should start from nearest OH. So what we will do, like if I number this, well, first we select the longest carbon chain. So we select the longest chain of the carbon. These are the two carbon atoms, so we select them as longest chain. This is OH, so it's not a carbon chain. Then we number the carbon atom. There are two ways to number. If I number from left hand side, this is the first carbon on the left hand side and second carbon. So OH is coming with the second carbon. If I number from right hand side the carbon chain, so this is 1 and 2. So OH is coming with the first carbon. So we always select the longest carbon chain, and after that numbering should start from the nearest OH. So which numbering I should follow, left to right or right to left? Where OH is coming closer? This one is left and right, so I should select from right to left. So I select from right to left. Then how to name these compounds? So to name these compounds, number third point, use prefix for carbon, then position of OH, and in the end the name should have OL. The name should end as OL. So first we select the longest carbon chain. We selected the longest carbon chain in this example. There are 2 carbons, that's why maximum can be 2 here. Then number the carbon atoms. Numbering should start from nearest OH. So if I number from here, OH is coming with the first carbon. If I number from left to right, OH is coming with the second carbon. That's why I follow the numbering from right to left. Use prefix for carbon. How many carbon atoms are here in this structure? There are 2 carbon atoms. So if there are 2 carbon atoms, what I will use the term eth, because the prefix used for two carbon atoms, that is eth. Because they have a single bond between them, so use prefix for the carbon, and for single bond, instead of writing A and E, you will write AN only. So it is eth because there are two carbon, and because of a single bond between the two carbon atoms. What is the position of OH? OH is attached with the first carbon, so we'll say 1, and then the name should end at OL, so it is ethane 1-ol, or whenever it is at the first position, you can say ethanol. So first what we did, we select the longest carbon chain. In this example, there are two carbon maximum, so we select two carbon. Then numbering should start from nearest OH. If I number from left to right, OH with the second carbon. If I number from right to left, OH with the first carbon. That is why I select numbering from right to left. Then use a prefix for carbon. Because there are two carbon atoms, that's why we use eth. Between the two carbon atoms, there is a single bond, so we say N. Then the position of OH, OH is with the first carbon, so we say 1. And because there is OH, so we say all. So this is ethanol. Ethane 1-ol, or I can also say ethanol, having a same meaning. Because when the group is present at first position, it is not necessary that you mention the position. Is it clear? Yes, copy this. Then I'll give more examples how to name alcohol. Example, there are three carbon atoms, CH3, CH2, CH2, and OH. What is the rule for naming these alcohols? We select the longest carbon chain. So we select the longest carbon chain. This is the longest carbon chain. Then number the carbon atoms. If I number from left hand side, 1, 2, 3. So OH is coming with the third carbon. If I number from right hand side, 1, 2, and 3. OH is coming with the first carbon. So which numbering I should follow, from left to right or right to left? Which numbering I should follow, right to left or left to right? So I should follow numbering from right to left, because when I count from right to left, OH is coming with the first carbon. OH should be closer to the first carbon. Now, how to name? Use a prefix for the carbon. Because there are three carbon atoms, so I will use the term prop. Between them, there is a single bond. So normally we write A and E if there is a single bond, but in alcohols, we don't write full A and E, we just write AN. Prop N. Prop, because of three carbon, N is for single bond. Normally, if it is a single bond, we write A and E, but in case of alcohols, we don't write complete A and E, we simply write AN. Then the position of OH, the OH is attached with the first carbon. So it is 1 and all. So this is propane 1-ol, or I can say propanol. So propane 1-ol is same as propanol. Is it clear, this example? Step 4, the position of OH, which position OH is attached, that you write. Like example, if I count from left to right, the OH is attached with the third carbon. Which carbon OH is attached with, that is the position of the OH. If OH is attached with if I count from left to right, it means OH is attached from third carbon. If I count from right to left, the OH is attached with the first carbon. We always follow a numbering where the OH is closer. So that's why we are considering the number from right to left. So position of OH with the first carbon, that's why we put the position of OH. And then because OH is there, so the name should end at OL. Now in this example, again you select the longest carbon chain. So we select the longest carbon chain. Then numbering should start from nearest OH. If I count from here 1, 2, 3. If I count from right to left, it's also same. It does not make difference. Both cases the OH is with the second carbon. So I can count from left to right or right to left. It does not make difference. Because there are 3 carbons, so what I will say it is prop because there are 3 carbons. They have a single bond between them, carbon-carbon single bond, so I will say N. Then the position of OH is attached with the second carbon, so I will say 2. And because there is OH, so I will say all. So this is propane all. So it's propane 2 all. For propane to all, I cannot say it is propanol because there's a difference between propanol and propane to all. If it is propane 1 all, then I can say it is propanol. But if it is propane 2 all, I cannot say it is propanol. 2 is the position where the OH is attached. Is it clear? This example? Finish writing this. Carboxylic acids. So carboxylic acid, these carboxylic acid, they have a group which is called C, double bonded with O and OH. This group is attached with a carbon chain. And if this group is attached with a carbon chain, we call that as a carboxylic acid. You can also write COOH, that's also same thing. Or you can also write CO2H, all having a same meaning. There is no difference between them. So if with a carbon, if this group is attached, we call them as carboxylic acid. If with a carbon chain, if only OH is attached, we call them as alcohol. But if it is C double bonded with O and OH group, we call that as carboxylic acid. And the carboxylic acid, the name is oic acid. The name should have oic acid. So example, how to name this? If it is CH3, CH2, COOH. And the question is, name this compound. So how you'll name this compound? Number 1, you will select the longest carbon chain. Then Here you don't have to number because always this is your first carbon, so you don't have to number. The second thing, use a prefix for number of carbon. And AN if single bonds. And then the third one, the name should end at oic acid. So select the longest carbon chain. So select the longest carbon chain. So 1, 2, and 3 carbon you can see here. Include the carbon of this. So these are the 3 carbon. Then use a prefix for the carbon. If there are 3 carbon, what prefix we will use?
Sir, but here won't we number them here?
No need to number because this is always the first carbon. So you don't have to number. 1, 2, 3. So this is always the first carbon. So 3 carbon atoms are there, so that's why it is prop. What is the bond between the carbon atoms?
One single bond, so
it is N. And when it's a functional group, like when a carboxylic group is there, for a single bond, instead of writing A and E, you will write AN only.
Yes.
If single bond between the carbon atoms, you will use N only, AN, not ANE. And then because of this group, C double bonded with O and OH, what we call them as carboxylic acids, or the name should have oic acid, so it will become propanoic acid. So prop because of 3 carbon, N because they have a single bond, and oic acid due to this group. Is it clear? So alcohols have OH, whereas carboxylic acid have COOH. Copy this. And another example, if I say CH3, CH2, 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 COOH. Select the longest carbon chain. So how many carbon are there in the chain? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for 5, we will use pent. Between the carbon atoms, throughout the chain, there is a single bond, so N. And due to this whole group, it is known as oic acid. So change to pentanoic acid. Is it clear, the naming of carboxylic acids? Then esters. Ester means the compound contain C double bonded with O and O. If a compound contains C double bonded with O and a single bond with another oxygen, that is known as ester, and the name of the ester should be O8. It should end at O8. So how we name, like example, if it is CH3, CH2, C double bonded with O and O, and with oxygen there is another carbon chain like CH2. So both sides it contain carbons, but one of the carbon chain is attached with oxygen and another chain is directly attached with a carbon. So how we name, what is the rule of naming these esters? So if a compound contains C double bonded with O and O, we call them as esters. So how we name these esters, or rule of naming these esters? Number one, we select the chain which is attached with or carbon atoms attached with oxygen are considered as branch, and the carbon atoms attached with C double bonded with O are considered as chain. That's the first thing. So whenever ester is there, the first thing you have to identify the branch and the chain. So which one is a branch and which one is a chain here? So the carbon atoms attached to oxygen are considered as a branch. So which one is a branch, right hand side or left hand side? Which one is considered as a branch, the right hand side or the left hand side? The carbon atoms which are attached with oxygen so this is C double bonded with O. So which carbon atoms are attached directly with oxygen, on the left hand side or the right hand side? So the carbon atoms which are attached with oxygen are considered as a branch. So on the right hand side, you have a branch. Then the carbon atoms which are attached with C double bonded with O. So this is C double bonded with O. So this is C double bonded with O. So atoms including that which are attached with it, we call them as a chain. So on the right hand side you have a chain, on the left hand side you have a branch. How we name this, the rule for naming: first we will name the branch, and the branch should always have YL in the end, and then we will name the chain, and it should have O8 at the last. So example, first we name the branch. How many carbon atoms are there in the branch? How many carbon atoms are there in the branch? 2. So for 2, which prefix I use? So I will use H. So because of 2, I will say H. And because it is a branch, so branch should always have YL. So it is ethyl. Eth because of
So,
two carbon, and whenever there is a branch, as we discussed earlier, whenever there is a branch, the branch should always include YL. So it is,
sir, in any branch, like in
yes,
alcohol, in
in alcohol, if there is
hydrocarbons.
a carbon branch, the name should always have YL.
All right, all right.
Then here in the chain, we have three carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3. So what we will say for three carbon, what prefix we
Prop,
use?
prop,
So we use prop. What is the bond between the carbon atoms?
double. I mean single.
Between the carbon atoms, there's a single, so it's N. And because of this group, C double bonded with O and O, it is O8. So the name of this compound is ethyl prop NO8 or ethyl propanoate.
So can you give us another example?
Yeah, I'll give more examples. This is one of them. So copy this. So we select the rule of name for naming these esters. We select the branch and the chain. So branch is the one which is directly attached with oxygen, and the chain is the one which is attached with C double bonded with O. First we name the branch. The branch, how many carbon are there? According to that, in this example, there are 2 carbon. So branch should have Eth. And because it's a branch of a carbon, so it will always have or end at YL. So it is ethyl. In a chain, we have 3 carbon atoms. So it is prop. Because there is a single bond between the carbon atom, it is N. And due to this functional group C double bonded with O and O, it is O8. So it is ethyl propane O8. Another example. So this one is ethyl propanoate. So if we have CH3, so the carbon, you can see this is oxygen. So the carbon which is attached to be an ester group, ester means C double bonded with O and O. So oxygen can be on the right hand side, or this oxygen can be on the left hand side. So the part of a carbon, the chain which is attached with oxygen is considered as a branch, and the part which is attached with this carbon of C double bonded with O, that is considered as a chain. So we name the branch first. So branch in this case is on the right hand side, which is having 2 carbons. So we say at. Because it's a branch of a carbon, so it will be YL, so ethyl. There are 3 carbon atoms in the chain, so it is prop, and they have a single bond, so we say N. And due to this functional group, we call that as O8. So it is ethyl propanoate.